When we think that we are not the ones needing help and we are bringing somebody else into mental health consultation spaces or to a psychologist, and most often it is when parents are bringing children to psychologists or mental health spaces, something which parents need to remember. Firstly, that the person you're bringing along with you is not the problem to be fixed. It is a person to be understood. So we are coming to these spaces for understanding, right? Now, even if it is a solution that you need, first we need to understand what is the problem, what is happening, and we need to listen. So, when you're bringing your child to a psychologist, it has to start with you as the adult, as the parent. And the first session preferably should not be with the child, it should be just with the parent alone. Because what I have seen mostly is because I do online sessions, both the parent and the child log in together. Sometimes they would have shared notes in advance saying this is the issue, but they already are there in the room together, and the parent starts offloading. The child is sitting right there, and they start saying like he never listens, or she's always lies, or this happened in the school, and this is what he or she did. She's so rude now, or they're just locking their room or not coming out. We have tried everything. Now you do what it is. We don't know how to fix this, and it's on and on. It's true that as parents, uh, it is true that we do not know how to understand or how to work with our child. So let us own that. True, you're overwhelmed. Yes, you're tired. You don't know what else to do. But if when you're speaking this list of complaints in front of the child, you and I have also lost the chance to make the space something that they will feel safe, because you've already given me all the horrible things that I need to listen, and that's how I'm being introduced to the children. Here is the problem, fix this kind of thing. So, yes, as parents, you are allowed to vent for sure, but maybe you need to first take that session separate and vent privately. That is also part of the consultation. It is not seeing something as separate. It is part of the process. So take the session individually, set the context, tell what you have already tried, share your version of the story, but not in front of the child. So the child arrives later. So in a space where you can say that, see, we have told what we have gone through. Now she will listen to what you need to say. Now it is not to punish them, but you need to tell the children saying that we need help. As parents, we need help. We do not know how to resolve this, and we are not okay with what is happening between us in our relationship, and we know you're struggling and we are also struggling. So that is the tone you set, saying that this is why we need help. As a family, you all need help. You all need to understand each other, and when you are trying to do this together, it's not working. So we have to be really clear about something, that it is not enough if only the child is attending the sessions. Yes, there can be, and there is a need for individual consultations also, especially if the relationship is strained and the child does not want to speak in front of the parent. We always give the child the option that, do you want to speak individually? Is it okay if the parents leave? Now, but that doesn't mean that your job is done just because the child says that, no, I don't want the parents to be in the session, or that I want to speak privately. That is perfectly fine. But then you will need to keep meeting and giving us a context of what is happening at home, or how are things improving or not improving. Because as a parent, we need to show up, and that is done separately if needed, but it has to be done actively. And it is not that, okay, she is attending sessions, but nothing is improving. So it is not just coming to just check what is happening, but to share what is happening with you. So because the goal here is to help the child cope better, but true. but it's also to understand the family dynamics and heal that relationship. And it is to build these better communications on both sides. So just like how the whatever the child is trying to say is not getting across to you and it's not going well, similarly, whatever you're trying to say is also not getting across to them. So, for example, a parent, they will come to the session and say that, okay, we trust you, beta, you go talk to this counselor, say whatever you want. And yes, they leave the session, from the outside, it looks like they have given consent. There is so much of trust in the relationship. The child comes and they start venting. And most often it is about one of the parents or both of them. And what do we do? Yes, we validate. Now, what do we mean by validation? It is not that me sitting there and agreeing to whatever the child is saying, but validation means that it is not to say that you are right or you're wrong. It is to listen to, okay, this is how you feel. Yes, I understand that. And that is your truth in the moment. And that is what we are validating. But if we go on validating and validating, of course, if the child has not received that validation at home, they will love to come to the session. They will keep taking session. We will really hit it off. There will be a great rapport because who doesn't like validation? It's like ChatGPT, right? Okay, great, wonderful. Yes, I understand. So we will love chatting. So validation is necessary because it is true. Their feelings and their thoughts are valid. They are not faking it. So we need to start there, but it doesn't end there. It is only the beginning. So without your presence in the process, we will be just stuck with one version of the event being validated, and later you come in after many sessions saying, oh my god, this is what is happening. So it can't run parallelly. We need to gently be able to bring these parallel stories and parallel feelings to the same place. We need to bridge that, isn't it? That is why we are sitting here, so that each event you don't have to keep running to a professionals. We need to resolve that dynamics so that you as a parent will also learn how to work with your child when there is a conflict, when there is a disagreement. It could be about anything. It could be academics, it could be digital hygiene, it could be relationship issues, it could be anything at all. It's not about who is right and who is wrong. There is a power dynamic. So yes, it will be ultimately the parent decision, but it's sometimes about how was this decision communicated, and it's about creating awareness towards, uh, you know, uh, both can have their views and both need to be heard, and that is what we need to do here. So some of the examples or some things that we've heard children say in sessions is, I cannot talk to my mother because she always ends up crying, because the minute I say something, she's hurt. Now I have to deal with my emotion and also my mother's emotions. Or sometimes they say that I can't say anything to my father because he's instantly angry and he just walks off and he doesn't even listen, or he immediately has a correction. He doesn't, keeps interrupting. Or they say that they only listen when I shout and scream, they will listen. So which is why I'm shouting and screaming. And when I'm so tired shouting and screaming, I shut the door and I sit inside. So I'm not saying these are the right things to do, and I'm not here to say no, 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 you cannot shut the door, you cannot scream at your parents. That is advice. So we have to start with, yes, I understand how that feels. That is the starting point. But we need to listen to what is happening at the other end for the parent also. So here the parent must be saying, okay, I cry because I love her so much, and then she is hurting like this. I am not able to handle it. Now that is a emotional regulation issue with the parent. That has to be handled separately, and that's an individual work of the parent. And how can we handle our emotions? We can't be there for the children if children's emotion if we do not know how to self-regulate. Or if the father is coming, how can he speak to me like that? That is why I shout. Then what is the difference? So the child is shouting, you're also shouting. So if shouting is the problem, then nobody shouts in that house, isn't it? So how come we are seeing shouting as the only outlet to be heard? So how do we work around this? So it's not about making parents the villains or children the villains, and there is no hero. Everybody are heroes in the story, so and we are sometimes another thing is we do everything for them. We bought them that, we bought them this, and still they don't listen. And those narratives doesn't really help. So because both these perspectives are true, they are just different, and this is how both are feeling. So our job is not to sit here and pick sides and say this is right, that is right. It is for us to hold space for listen, both these realities exist and they can coexist, and we need to build a bridge. It is not connecting. There is a disconnect. And the biggest trap, one of the biggest trap in parent-child work, which of course later on we see in marital sessions also, that the child is speaking about the impact of the parent's words or actions on them, and the parent is defending their intention. So the parent will say, but I did not mean to hurt, they are so sensitive. Or they'll say, I was only saying this to make you strong, or in my days we used to get nicely thrashed, but look how I turned off, and I was just scared for you, I was just trying to protect you. So sometimes parents justify their words and actions because their intention was good. But intention and impact are two different things. So how do we shift it? Because intention matters, true, very good, but the impact stays longer. It is staying in the child. It's not resolved in the child. So if you're going to dismiss the impact because I did not mean to hurt you, it's almost like saying, suppose you walk and you stamp somebody's leg. You did not intend to hurt them, but you accidentally stamped. You're like, okay, fine, you're hurt, but I did not intend to hurt you, but I accidentally stamped you. We will automatically say sorry and we will do that. Similarly, our intention needn't be to hurt, but yes, other people can be hurt more, particularly our children. That's not because they are sensitive and or they are Gen Z or millennial kids. No, they're human children and they can be hurt. Similarly, their words can hurt us also. But before we try to teach them that, can we show them how to become empathetic? Because they learn empathy only when we model it for them, isn't it? So the shift begins with the parent accepting that, okay, I did not realize that that really hurt you, and thank you for telling me that. First, appreciate that the child is able to talk to you about the impact. And this is not to apologize, this is not to go on a guilt and say, oh my God, I'm such a bad parent, I'm so sorry. No, not to go on that tangent, but this is just to acknowledge that, okay, this is how it has affected you, and I get it, I understand it, right? Okay, now I understand, yes, how that would have impacted you. It is acknowledgement. It is not to agree that whatever the child did or said was correct. No, it is only acknowledging that what were they thinking or what they were feeling which led them to say or do whatever they said or did. It is only the acknowledgement. So that is how the children can also feel safe to talk about these emotions to their parents. They will not suppress or depress their emotion, and they will learn that, okay, I can share any emotion and anything and it will be held. My parents will understand. And it is not to offer them long lectures, but only to be understood. Let them say. And another pattern which comes is the four C's: the control, correction, coercion, and criticism. The four C's which all of us were raised on. And this is something we unknowingly bring up in our parenting also, which means control is most like, don't do that, don't do this, don't answer, you being disrespectful. Criticism, you always think you know better, you better fix that attitude. So it's coercion, pushing them to do. It can even be motivation. Oh, wonderful. Do a little more. And sometimes it can be even masked as concern. Even if it overtly does not come across as control, it can be like, okay, this behavior is not acceptable, this needs to be corrected, before saying, how come you're saying and doing this? Before that it comes, this is not acceptable. So, or they can bring and say, okay, now fix this person with some counseling, give them some counseling and fix them, because we have done everything. He's not listening to us. So maybe at least he will listen to you. Or coming and saying, like, make him understand this, or make her understand how stupid that decision was. They are not regretful. So we cannot force regret or guilt in a child. We need to understand, if a child is not feeling apologetic, we need to get curious. Okay, what happened? So the session is not to induce certain feelings in the child if they are not feeling that, but to get curious what happened. We meet them where they are. We can ask them, how did they get there? And the same thing is what we do for the parents also. How come this is happening to you? We will meet you where you are. And if this is extremely opposite and intense, then we do it in separate sessions. But if the parent is mature enough to hold space, then we can bring them to combined sessions. So instead of asking, why are they like this? We can try asking, what might they be feeling that I don't understand yet? Or how come your children are finding it hard to talk to you? How can I learn to connect differently? So if parents come in asking questions to genuinely learn, not that we are sitting here to give you all the answers of do that, do this. No, I'm not sitting here with another set of instructions, but to understand your context, and to learn alongside you, and share these stories together. So, and there is no shame. There is no shame for any parent, me inclusive, to say that, okay, this I did this happened. So if we could have all the knowledge in the world, but it is emotions, and we all, nothing gets solved like that. We all are human, and yes, we can mess up, we can say things we don't mean, and we know how to repair. So let us teach our children that rupture can happen, but repair can happen too, isn't it? So it's okay for the children to hear that, yes, I also need help as a parent. I do not know how to handle the situation with you. I know you're struggling, and I am also struggling, and let us seek help. That is not failure. That is parenting done right. And but it doesn't stop there by getting the parents. We it is not just a one-time session and yes, sorted. It has to be. It's like learning a skill. We need to come there. We practice this with 2, 3 events, and we learn that. We go. We take little tasks or goals at home, and we come back and see how that went, until where I can sit back and there's a combined session and you both can navigate that disagreement in the session. That's when we know it's a skill that we practice. Just like we go to a gym and strengthen that muscle, this is a muscle that we practice and we strengthen. So we are not reacting in control and things like that. So we need to bring eventually to a common space. That is our larger goal, isn't it? Because there is a disconnection that happened. So see such consultations or reflective spaces or therapeutic spaces as a bridge. So if I have to use the word bridge, it is the acronym itself. The B would be that begin with yourself. For the parent, the B is begin with yourself. The first session is yours. Start with your own reflections before you bring your child into the process. Understand that your role is central to this. We need to bridge that relationship or build that muscle in you where you can connect with your own child and they can share. And the R will be reflect before reacting. So instead of rushing to fix, we need to pause and reflect. What's really happening in this dynamic? What is happening inside of me? Why am I getting so triggered when my child says or does something? What's going on beneath the surface for me? That is what we need to slow down and reflect. And the I is impact over intention. Of course, intention matters. Your intention is out of love and concern. There is no debate in that. But the impact, sometimes the way we show love and concern we need to listen to that child. We do not decide the impact. So acknowledge their feelings even if it's hard. Acknowledgement is not the same as agreeing to what they said or did. We are only acknowledging their feelings. The D will be, please don't dismiss their voice, or and we don't want to create drama, and we don't want to distract them with do that, do this, and we are not deflecting to something else, also going to a past event. So dismissing, defending, deflecting is not what we want. We don't want to dismiss that. That's the D. The G is let's grow with them. We are also growing. Nobody taught us exactly how to raise a child when they have so many other influences other than the parent. So we need to grow with them. And you are here supporting the relationship. And it is your growth also. It is not just the child's growth. So the sessions are if the child is learning, for us, it is unlearning and relearnings. And the last one, E, is engage with curiosity and not with control, because the relationship is not about the power dynamics, though there is a power dynamics. Of course, the power is with the parent, but it is not about dominance, saying that do as I say, then that is not connecting. So we are going to ask what's going on with my child instead of how can I control this. So in closing, we are here to help you bridge so that you can walk with your child and connect with your child, and the child can reach you and you can reach the child. That's the bridge. You can meet each other in safety, in honesty, and you can reach each other fully, because that relationship is important. And relationships do not fix themselves. It takes a lot, your presence, it takes your patience, and it can be done with a lot of love. Thank you.